What's it like being a pastor and watching someone in your church make all this content about pastors?
I remember one particular video recently I sent you, and I was like, hey, I don't know about this one. And you're like, don't put that out.
Mike Winger did the expose on Todd White.
I did a 40-day water fast and you're plumped up in the face and jacked. I think it's generally harmful to the body of Christ.
Whenever everything came out about Robert Morris at Gateway, our church literally the Sunday before.
Ruslan.
So this is a segment from my conversation with Brady from Church Candy. But before we get into that, I want to let you know, we've been looking at the back-end analytics of this channel, and we found out that a huge percentage of the people that watch this channel, unfortunately, are not subscribed. So if you're new here, or if you're not new here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, as we are on the verge of reaching 800,000 subscribers, and I'd love to celebrate that with you, as well as you potentially missing some of the amazing things that we have going on here, like our massive Father's Day sale, which I'll get into later in the video. All right, let's jump into this conversation.
A lot of Ruslans content is, it's about pastors. It's about people in ministry. What's it like being a pastor and watching someone in your church make all this content about pastors, about your peers,
about church and stuff? Honestly, I feel like what Ru does now is really, it's kind of like, it's just great Christian commentary, Earlier, some of the videos were a little gnarly, on some stuff, but at the same time, some of it did need to be called out, I think, in some of our peers. But, ultimately, I love the content. I don't watch all of it, so I don't know if someone's
I would be very impressed if you watched.
Yeah, I didn't watch all of it. He's a content producing machine. Their whole setup and stuff is wild. But there's only been like a few times I've been like, hey man, I don't know if I would have done that, or I don't know if I would have said that, or whatnot.
And if something is dicey, I remember one particular video recently I sent you, and I was like, hey, I don't know about this one, and you're like, don't put that out. And I was like, all right, yeah.
It's one of those things like, all right. My wife tells me all the time, hey, if you have to ask if you should respond to that comment in that way, or if you need to ask if you should do that,
probably shouldn't do it.
Probably shouldn't.
Probably just a no.
No.
Probably just a no.
No, but I think he's got a really great take, really good. He's got sound doctrine, good theology, and so with that, there's not really a lot that I watch and go, oh, what's going on? And honestly, very rarely do I get any kind of most of the time when people know that Ru goes to our church. And I have other pastor friends and stuff. I've never had anyone, like, oh my gosh, like what that guy says, I can't believe it. Well, that's horrible. Everyone's actually really impressed for the most part across the board with what comes out.
We've also made a hard pivot, I'd say about 2.5, 3 years ago, where we said, hey, we're doing net positive content most of the time. By net positive, we mean we're saying something positive and or adding value in some way, shape, or form. So if people are looking at anything post 2023, they're going to hear me say generally positive things about pastors and churches, even our peers. So if I'm reacting to Josh Howerton, it's going to be, hey, Josh Howerton did this, and this, and he said this, and this is amazing. This is great. I'm not gonna roast the whatever video where he copied an apology, or that's like some of that stuff, like Bryce Crawford copied Judas. I'm not doing a reaction on Bryce Crawford copying Judas Smith's sermon. Now, when Bryce Crawford came on my channel, we talked about that, and he was very gracious, and so. Same thing with Josh. I'm sure that would come up in a podcast, the One in F5 podcast, we did a podcast with him. That kind of stuff, because people want to know. The worst thing you could do as a creator is to know what your audience wants and not give it to them. People want to know, what do you think about this thing? So we got to have the conversations, but we've made it a point to not have the conversations in a negative way, in a way that is putting a bad taste in people's mouth about the church. Because the ultimate win for us is to get people into a local church.
Yeah.
That's the W.
To build the church. Build the kingdom for sure.
Yeah, no, it's
100%.
Huge. Yeah, I'm right there with you guys on that. On that same note, I love that your content now is net positive. It tries to point the church or paint the church in a positive light. With that, though, there's still times where pastors drop the ball, whether it's moral failures or financial things. And you'll still make videos about that. I watch them. I'm interested. It's like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Do you feel like highlighting these pastors that step down and transition out of ministry, or that are going through controversy, do you think that like is a net positive for the church? Like what are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. Can you give me a specific example of what comes to mind of like a negative pastor?
Well, recently, like Todd White, he had who was it? Mike
Winger. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike Winger did the expose on Todd White. You reacted to it. I remember Todd White would like speak at the Bible college that I went to. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like what
Bible college did you go to?
I went to CFNI, Christ for Nations
yeah.
Institute
Oh, yeah,
in Dallas.
Okay. That's
great. CFNI guy.
Yeah.
So I just find that interesting. Like, oh, what's going on? And so where do you draw the line on what's going to paint the church in a positive light versus, hey, people were already talking about this. People want to know my thoughts on it, and I've got to react to it.
Okay, wait a second. I never thought I'd say this, but I think in light of Rainbow Flag Month, we've decided to put rainbows inside of one of our marquee items. The Occupy Till I Come 60-day devotional has a rainbow in it, but we're taking the rainbow back in the month of June from the Skittles. Our 60-day Occupy Till I Come devotional is available for only $22, 35 days in the Old Testament, 25 days in the New Testament with a custom journal prompt and a section for your prayer request, as well as a back side that is just all notes. And it's designed by my buddy Josh Nadeau. Amazing design. Occupy Till I Come 60-day devotional on sale now, as well as our entire new priest provider launch with hoodies, t-shirts, the stuff that's already selling out. We have a $44 hoodie. I think that's the cheapest we've ever sold a hoodie. We have some $19 hats. So if you want to help us reclaim the rainbow and equip people to be priests, providers, and protectors, go to blessgod.shop. This is a great piece of apparel to put on and remind yourself who we are called to be as the priest, provider, and protector. Great thing to get for your husband, for your father, for your mentor, for your pastor. You get them something that says priest, provider, protector. Oh my goodness, you're scoring some serious brownie points. So go to blessgod.shop and pick up something from our brand new Father's Day priest, provider, protector sale right now. All right, let's jump back into this conversation.
Well, first of all, I don't got to react to anything, so I don't have to. And there's a lot of stuff we don't talk about because we're maybe waiting for something to pan out with an investigation and that sort of stuff. With that video in particular, I said the line is, can we all look at this and go, hey, this is generally harmful to the body of Christ. This is generally harmful. So telling people like, I haven't lied in a decade. I haven't thought a lustful thought in a decade. I did a 40-day water fast and you're plumped up in the face and jacked. I think it's generally harmful to the body of Christ. Like I think what Todd White did in those clips is harmful. I think saying that Jesus became is harmful. And so that's where I would draw the line. So if someone's saying stuff that I just genuinely go, oof, that's just bad. Like this is dark stuff. That, as I say there. And then the other line I would draw is like when they're coming after my friends. Like when people are coming after my friends, sometimes it's actually defending my friends who are getting called out. So like Mike Signorelli is a friend of ours. We went to Israel with him. And for every time that I'm defending a Mike Winger who's making a Todd White video, people they do. Me defending a Mike Signorelli, who I think oftentimes gets unfairly treated by some of that same community of, I would say, discernment ministry type stuff. Yes, I would say the line is like, man, I think it is so unhelpful to tell people stuff like you can do a 40-day water fast. Like it's literally dangerous telling people that. And so that's where I would draw the line. So I can think of other examples, but that would be like the line for me. And that's why like some of this stuff is not as relevant. Like I don't care with what Mike Todd is doing because I don't think he's like directly bringing harm. Some people can argue his theology is harmful, but I don't think he's directly bringing harm. So like with our new celebrity pastor, mega church shenanigans, but we could only say nice things. Like we're intentionally trying to just say nice things and compliment.
I did watch that video.
Yeah, you did watch that one?
I watched that one. Yeah.
So like it's tongue in cheek, but I'm not dunking on him. There's a lot of negative things I could say and I don't. And so it's like literally like, hey, let's give the most charitable version of something that people are going to find an issue with. And let's try to see it in a positive light. And that's not me trolling. Like I'm not trolling. I've reached out to Mike Todd multiple times. I would love to have a conversation. I would argue that it would be in celebrity pastors' best interest to sit down and have the uncomfortable conversations, because we're that veil of like status and power that's done in this era. It's over with. Like, you don't get to hide behind your platform and status and power anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's in their best interest to sit down and have the conversations. How many of them will? I think the smart ones are. Like, I think the Josh Howartons are leaning into the tension of this new era we're in. But I think a lot of the guys, they're still kind of, they're in the industrial mindset of church from 5-10 years ago, and they don't want to have those conversations. I think that's a disservice to them and to their audience and the broader body of Christ.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Whenever everything came out about Robert Morris at Gateway, our church literally the Sunday before had started a new series, The Blessed Life. And that Sunday, we'd given everyone a copy. We gave out the books. And my pastor made a big deal because he didn't want to be accused of, he just stole this from
plagiarizing,
especially because we're also in Texas, right? And then that was Sunday. It was like that week the news came out. And I remember texting him. He's like, "Yeah, I'm probably not gonna say his name from the stage anymore." And like, because I know some churches, like the church I grew up in, like Wednesday night services, like 1 month out of the year, we would play just Pastor Robert Morris's sermons. So with all of that, and I'd love to get kind of both of y'all's take on it. How or do you think should like local pastors respond whenever there are big things like that happen, where whether pastors fall or they're in the zeitgeist or they're getting some negative heat in the world?
Oh, that's a great question. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I would say, from like the global perspective, and if you have a global platform and people respect your voice, like Ruslan and other people like that, I think for sure say something, 100%, especially when it's that blatant of, everything comes out, pastors arrested, all of that. That's huge. But I would say, though, coming from from the West Coast and that West Coast perspective, a lot of people don't know who Robert Morris is. They have no clue. Maybe they saw something on a reel or something at some point, but like our culture where we're from celebrity pastors don't really exist. Like, you have to be like deep Christian, been around for a long time and really love Christian culture and content to like know. Like, if I announced to our church that so-and-so pastor is coming to speak next week, they'd be like, "Oh, you're not speaking? Maybe we'll go to the beach instead." Like that's quite honestly, that's the way that it is. I mean, we do revival nights because I'm trying to get our church used to guest speakers and stuff. And like they don't come because so-and-so is speaking that night unless they've heard him before somewhere or something and they really like him.
They would have to be really deep in the core of our leadership and like really immersed in church culture to know who any of even our guest speakers are. Yeah.
So from a pulpit standpoint, I'm not going to stand up and be like, "I'm sure you guys have all heard about Robert Morris." They'd be like, "Who's that guy?" Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Would you do it though because like at his church there was someone that was kind of not relationally, content wise connected?
For sure.
We were literally preaching the Blessed Life series. Yeah. The first week of the series, we were like, "Hey, like there's a book that Robert Morris wrote. Here's the book."
Right.
This is kind of what the series is based off of.
Exactly. At that point you have to say something. You for sure you stand up and you say, "Hey, look, this is what's going on." And then I would probably hard pivot. It would be too hard for people's minds to like go, "Well, we're still reading his book." It would just, I think the controversy it would cause is not worth like dying on that mountain or dying on that hill. But when it comes to the content, though, like I still think like The Blessed Life is a great book, and I think we're in this cancel culture today of like now we just have to wipe everything off the shelves and do everything, which I understand, and again like what Robert Morris did was horrific, but the book is good. It's a good book. It's got a lot of great principles and stuff in it.
I've never heard of the book, so I can't speak to the book. But I think sometimes, and to your point, that cancel culture reverts people back to an all or nothing mentality,
right?
And then everything they did is invalid and discontinued forever. And it's like, no, someone can have a massive mistake, error, sin, and yet have been used by God and their content itself isn't forever
Exactly.
destroyed and
Right.
canceled. You know,
I mean, because if we did that, we have to go back all through like the church fathers and a lot of these, like, you know, a lot of our people that we've pulled on for years, and like, you know, A.W. Tozer, like terrible husband. We'd go, he treated his wife poorly. Let's never read Pursuit of God again. You know, like there's just, or, you know,
Martin Luther. Martin Luther
yeah.
said some wild stuff about
Yeah,
the Jews.
bro.
Like
Yeah.
really dark stuff that some have even argued that it went on to influence,
Yeah.
you know, and the Germans during the night. And this is like the guy, the Protestant
exactly.
Reformation guy.
Yep.
He said some wild stuff about Jewish people. So yeah, what do you do with that? How do you reconcile that? You know?
Right. Exactly.
I think in the same tone, we're not like, man, I just don't like, sure only like Psalms because that whole Bathsheba thing.
I
that
know,
David
right? Yeah.
did.
I don't listen to the Psalms anymore because of David. You know, like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a conversation with my buddy Brady from Church Candy. If you want to see the full conversation, we'll have that pinned over here. If you want to shop our Father's Day sale, we'll have that over there. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.